Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing Heavy the Stones, written by JD Barker and Christine Daigle. It's an arc read for me, and it's a thriller, kind of a very dark thriller as well. And the reason I want to read this is because JD Barker, I know, can write great books, great dark theme books. And if you have not read the 4MK trilogy yet, read that. That's a very dark and so well written crime thriller type series, and I like those three books so much. I'm going to reread them again for my channel, so I can do reviews on each of them on my channel, but I like them so much. They're brilliant, and that's the reason why I'd like to read anything JD Barker writes. Now, this book being co-authored, I'm not sure how much influence each author had into the overall story. I mean, the dark themes, dark things going on, I think is JD Barker. But there's not enough polish in this story. And the structure, it's very short and sharp chapters, which reminds me of James Patterson. Not much filler. Other books by JD Barker, they're longer, there's more detail, there's more kind of intrigue, suspense, tension build up. And this book, we do have things like that. We have suspense and tension, intrigue, dark elements, but the polish is lacking. So I do wonder, how much of this did JD Barker write? Is it his idea and the other author wrote it? I don't know about the balance in this book. The plot of this book and its themes are quite dark. When you boil it down, the story is, we have a protagonist, Jenna, and she's a police detective, and she was responsible for putting away a serial killer called Leviticus Killer that happened about 5 years ago in the past. So now we're 5 years in the present day after that event, and we have this other person called Azrael. He's appearing on social media, and he mentions that if the Leviticus Killer is not released, then he's going to release 10 plagues. So essentially, 10 people are going to die. And he also says to Jenna, he contacts Jenna personally and tells her to confess, basically confess her sins, something she did wrong. And it seems tied to putting away that serial killer 5 years ago. Tell the truth, he says, or these 10 people are going to die. I'm not going to stop until you tell the truth and let this other killer go. That's the whole concept of this story. And the things that happen, the events, the murders, because there are murders in this book. They're very dark themed, well put together. They are quite unreal in the story. And that makes me think that this book is kind of written as like being optioned for TV series or a movie. I get that feeling in the way it's written, the events, because I get the feeling all the things that happen in this book, if you put them in a more visual medium, they'd be wonderful. There's just things going on in those events that I'd love to see on a screen somewhere, whether it's TV or a movie screen. I think they'd be quite stunning in a more visual medium. And the book progresses almost like a movie as well. So we have Jenna, who has this threat hanging over her head, to confess about something she did, and it is linked to how she put this serial killer away 5 years ago. Those two big things drive this plot forward, and it makes it quite thrilling, quite tense, and quite suspenseful. And I did like all those elements in the book. I just wish it was written a bit better. I wish there was a bit more polish in the story, because that is lacking in this book. So I'm not going to dive into the plot anymore. I don't want to give things away about it and spoil it for readers. But I'll just say in general, the pace is very fast. It has short, sharp chapters, much like James Patterson. I do wonder if JD Barker is getting that influence from working with Patterson on co-author books to have short and sharper chapters. It is quite a short book, quite a quick read. JD Barker has written longer books in the past, which I thought were wonderful. So I do wonder why he's gone for a shorter book with these short, sharp chapters for this book. I do also wonder how much of this was written by JD Barker or the other author, Christine Daigle. I don't know. I don't know how much each author had influence in the story. Setting-wise, I mean, the settings are quite stock standard for a book like this. They're not that detailed, not that well described. It's more about characters, intense moments, and fast pace. There is great tension and suspense in this story from the first page right to the end. It doesn't really die at all in the book. I think what lets it down is more just sometimes the writing style, the lack of polish in the story. For side characters, so putting aside Jenna, the main character, and then also Leviticus Killer, who acts like a main character in this story, and a bit of Azrael as well, who's this threat in the story. Other characters are kind of just pushed to the side too much. You don't know anything about them. They're just there for dialogue in some cases, nothing else. A shame, really, I think. And I think that's just a byproduct of having these short, sharp chapters and a very short book, really, in general. So I think more detail in that would have given us just more depth in the story, because I want to know a bit about these side characters, especially Jenna's partner on the police force. We don't get to know much about that person in the story. Jenna is the protagonist and written to be a strong and tough female law enforcement character. And it's a shame, I think, that female law enforcement characters in books have to be written to be super tough and super strong all the time. I think it just shows you in real life that people have the perception that women working in any law enforcement branch, doesn't matter what branch it is, they're mistreated by their male counterparts. That's what I think anyway, and I think many people out there in society will think the same. I think that's the reason why in books and TV shows and things, that if a woman character is in law enforcement, they're written to be super tough, super brave, super strong, all that sort of stuff, to just show that they're all those things because they're working in a man's world. Anyway, this character is all those things, also clever, but she has grey morality. She has things in her past she wants to hide. So we have this thing going on in the book. Will she or won't she admit to something she's done? And whatever it is, how bad will the consequences be for this character? What does it mean? So I like that in the story. I'm not saying I like law enforcement characters that have grey morality in books. I'm not sure that I do. Maybe it depends on what that is, how bad it is actually in the story. But this character is quite engaging because of that. Leviticus is a serial killer who was in prison 5 years ago. And in this book, he's in scenes where Jenna comes to talk to him and try to find out clues about this Azrael killer who's going around at the moment killing people, because she's sure that Leviticus and Azrael know each other. Leviticus is almost written to be like this Hannibal Lecter type character who's quite mysterious, quite enigmatic, just has these secrets that he won't give away unless he's given certain things, or he wants to have riddles or learn things about Jenna before he gives these secrets away. So this mysterious kind of sinister character who's in prison, but he's written also in a way where people in the prison, officers or other inmates, like him and revere him, and people out there in society also kind of worship him as well. And in that way, I think he's like that main character in that TV series, The Following. Mainly in the first series and second series. I know there was a third series, I think, where that main character wasn't around. But in that TV show, we have this person in prison who was convicted of many murders, but people revered him, many people. And it feels like this Leviticus character is based around that kind of concept, maybe even influenced by that character in that TV show. Mary is Jenna's partner on the police force, and the bad thing about this character is we know really nothing much about Mary at all. We know she cries a lot in the book, and it's about it. And there's not much about her at all in the story, which is a shame because she could be a good character in this book. I mean, give us more about Mary, even what Mary thinks about Jenna, about what Jenna does in the book. I mean, there's a lot we can learn about characters in this book through Mary's point of view, or just Mary's thoughts, or dialogue with Mary as well. But all we know is she's Jenna's partner on the force and she cries a lot in the story. There is a lot to like about this book, a lot. I mean, it is chilling, it's a fast read, it is suspenseful, there's good characters in there, there's great things happening, there's dark things happening, but the polish, that lack of polish in the book, I expected more with that, especially when JD Barker is one of the authors of this book. And I rate this a 3 out of 5. I don't want to put people off reading it. I mean, I think a lot of people will like this book. It has that feel, I think, that storyline a lot of people will like. It does feel like it is like an option for a TV series or a movie, like that blockbuster feel. And I think a lot of readers will be attracted to that. So I think still go out there and read it, but I don't know if you'll have the same view I do, that it lacks a certain polish. On my channel, I review many thrillers. If you enjoy thrillers, check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen down is a link on the video for a book I'm sure you'll enjoy.